Hey everybody, it's Dan Cheney back with you yet again for another Music Charts Archive show here on DJNTV. You know, by my count, 91 songs in the 1980s fell just short of the top and peaked at number 2. This week I'm going to be a little subjective and list my personal favorite songs from the 80s that didn't quite reach the top of the charts. One of those songs was written in one night because the producer said the album needed a hit song. One song had the line, "I want to arrest you," changed to something a little bit more familiar. And one singer's performance was inspired by a mysterious woman appearing in the control room during the recording session. Those songs and much more on this week's edition of the Music Charts Archive Show.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Music Charts Archive Show. Today we're going to count down my favorite songs from the 1980s that hit number 2. So let's start that chart. At number 10, Simply Irresistible by Robert Palmer. Now, this was the first single from his 1988 album, Heavy Nova, and his second number 2 song after I Didn't Mean to Turn You On. Simply Irresistible hit number 2 in September of 1988 and was held out of the number 1 spot by Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. The music video for the song was directed by fashion photographer Terrence Donovan and featured Palmer surrounded by several stylish women. Pepsi used the song in an ad campaign the following year. Simply Irresistible gave Palmer his second Grammy Award for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance. Coming at number 9, we have Dancing in the Dark by Bruce Springsteen. Now, Bruce Springsteen has had 12 top 10 hits, but he's never hit number 1. Dancing in the Dark was as close as he ever got. The song was number 2 for 4 weeks in the summer of 1984 and was kept out of the number 1 spot by the Reflex by Duran Duran and When Doves Cry by Prince. Now, this song was the first release from his classic Born in the USA album, which went on to produce 7 top 10 hits. Word is that Springsteen wrote the song in one night in a hotel, after producer John Landau said the album needed a hit single. And the lyrics of this song, in part, reflect his frustration of having to try and write a hit song. Number 8, Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard. Now, Def Leppard's signature song was actually the 3rd single released from the huge album Hysteria. It reached number 2 in July of 1988 and was kept out of the number 1 spot by Richard Marx's Hold On to the Nights. Pour Some Sugar on Me was a late addition to the album, and the story goes that the lyrics were started by singer Joe Elliott and producer Mutt Lange saying stream of consciousness words into recorders at opposite ends of the studio, and then trying to decipher what the other one was saying. At number 7, we have Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones racked up 8 number 1 singles throughout the 60s and 70s, but Start Me Up was the band's highest charting single in the 80s and beyond. Its peak at number 2 happened in the fall of 1981, stalling behind Author's Theme by Christopher Cross and Private Eyes by Hall & Oates. It was from their Tattoo You album. The Stones started working on the song while recording the 1978 Some Girls album, but the song didn't make the cut. It was also passed over for the 1980 album Emotional Rescue. The lyrics were ultimately changed. They were originally Start It Up, and they were changed to Start Me Up. At number 6, All Out of Love by Air Supply. The soft rock band Air Supply burst onto the scene in 1980, and their first 7 singles all made the top 5 on the US charts. All Out of Love was their second song in the US, and it peaked at number 2 in September of 1980. It was behind Diana Ross's Upside Down for 3 weeks, then it was leapfrogged by another one, Bites the Dust, and spent a 4th week in the runner-up spot. Producer Clive Davis has a songwriting credit on All Out of Love, only because he changed the line, I'm all out of love, I want to arrest you, to the more familiar, I'm all out of love, I'm so lost without you. Vocalist Russell Hitchcock held the final note on the song for over 16 seconds, which was a record until Sheriff's song When I'm With You held their final note for 19 seconds. Welcome back to this week's Music Charts Archive Show. My name's Dan Cheney, and this week we are counting down my personal favorite 10 songs from the 80s that hit number 2. So let's get back into it. At number 5, I have You Got the Look by Prince. Now, Purple Rain by Prince also peaked at number 2, and it may border on blasphemy to not have it on my list, but this song came out when I was in college, and I just like it a little better. The guest appearance by Sheena Easton didn't hurt either. It was from the Sign of the Times album and peaked at number 2 in October of 1987. Lost in Emotion by Lisa Lisa and Cult Jam kept it from number 1. The video was lifted from the Sign of the Times concert movie, and it's basically a dream sequence from Prince dozing off in his dressing room. At number 4, I have What Have I Done to Deserve This by the Pet Shop Boys. This was the 4th top 10 for the British duo in the US, and it was the 2nd from their album Actually, following the song It's a Sin. It was number 2 in February of 1988 behind Seasons Change by Exposé and then Father Figure by George Michael. The song put singer Dusty Springfield back in the spotlight briefly. Springfield had 3 top 10 hits in the US in the 60s, including Son of a Preacher Man, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, and Wishin' and Hopin'. At the 2009 Brit Awards, the Pet Shop Boys won an Outstanding Contribution to Music Award, and they performed this song with Lady Gaga. Number 3 on my list is Sowing the Seeds of Love by Tears for Fears. Tears for Fears had a huge album in 1985 with songs from the Big Chair, which produced 2 number 1 songs. Then they kind of laid low from a charts perspective for a few years. Then they came back in 1989 with the Seeds of Love album, and this hit, which peaked at number 2 in October of 1989. It was Janet Jackson's Miss You Much that kept it from number 1. Musically, Sowing the Seeds of Love is kind of an homage to the Beatles sound of the late 60s. In the number 2 spot on my list, I put Hurt So Good by John Cougar. Now, some of you out there may remember a time when John Mellencamp was basically forced by his management to call himself John Cougar. He had some modest chart success early in his career, and then the album American Fool came out, which produced this song, along with the number 1 hit Jack and Diane. Cougar started gaining enough clout to gradually change his name back to Mellencamp. Hurt So Good hit number 2 for 4 weeks in August of 1982, where it was stuck behind the classic song Eye of the Tiger. Much of the video was filmed in Medora, Indiana, close to Mellencamp's hometown of Seymour, Indiana. Hurt So Good won the Grammy Award for Best Male Rock Performance. The one I have at number 1 for my list is Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner. This song came out during my sophomore year of high school, and I loved it. From a charts perspective, it famously set the record for most weeks at number 2 without ever hitting number 1. It spent 10 weeks at number 2. Olivia Newton-John's Physical was at number 1 for 9 of those weeks, and I Can't Go For That by Hall & Oates jumped over it for the 10th week. Missy Elliott later tied that record for most weeks at number 2 with her song Work It. Producer Mutt Lange provides some backing vocals, and Thomas Dolby of She Blinded Me with Science fame plays the synthesizers on the track. In his autobiography, singer Lou Gramm said a beautiful and mysterious woman appeared in the control room during the recording session, and it inspired him to sing even better. And he never found out who that woman was. Well, that's it. That was my list of the top 10 songs that hit number 2 from the 80s. Please give the show a thumbs up. Do you have a favorite number 2 song that I didn't mention? Maybe We Got the Beat by the Go-Go's, maybe Open Arms by Journey, maybe Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant, not Amy Grant, Eddie Grant. All good songs. Let me know in the comments. This has been Dan Cheney for the Music Charts Archive Show, and be sure to join me again next time right here on DJNTV.